County Commissioner for District 3. We appreciate you taking the time to spend with us to hear from our candidates. All right, we will get started. And good morning, everyone, and welcome. My name is Maureen Scallon-Failer, and I'm president of the Dakota County Regional Chamber of Commerce. And the Dakota County Regional Chamber of Commerce is the influential regional voice that champions promotion and improvement of the business environment, cultivating vibrant regional and local communities. And the Chamber unites businesses by influencing public policy, providing networking and professional development opportunities, while encouraging economic development throughout Dakota County. And as citizens and businesses of our fabulous community, we have the right to cast our vote for individuals that represent our interests. And the leaders you elect make the decisions that affect you and your businesses, your jobs, your employees, healthcare, taxes, economic security, and our future workforce. Today's candidate forum is an opportunity to educate and engage voters and businesses from Dakota County District 3. And I'm really honored to have our two candidates with us this morning that are running for the Dakota County Board of Commissioners District 3. Please help me welcome Diane Anderson and Laurie Halverson. So everybody, thank you so much, you two. Before we get into the introductions, I do want to acknowledge our sponsor for our candidate forums. Without sponsorships that support us, we would not be able to bring these types of programs to all of you. And our sponsor for today's events is Velocity Public Affairs. And Velocity Public Affairs is a full-service public affairs company that combines experienced leadership with market-leading proprietary technology to help clients strategically address and manage public affairs challenges and opportunities. So again, thank you so much to Velocity Public Affairs and Mike Zipko's group. I appreciate all that you do. So a couple other of housekeeping items. We do have several questions that we will be asking our candidates, but I do want to allow the opportunity for any of you out there that are watching, if you have a particular question you would like to ask, please enter that question into the Q&A tab. And please keep in mind the questions need to be directed to both candidates, not to one specific candidate. So if you could keep that in mind, that would be great. So without further ado, I would like to start off the forum by having our candidates give a 2-minute introduction, and we will start with Diane Anderson. Diane, it is all yours.
I'm Diane Anderson, and I'm running for County Commissioner for District 3. I will be a strong advocate to represent you and to fight for our common concerns. I will ensure that government is responsive to the citizens. As a former state representative, I gained knowledge and experience regarding community services programs. I served on the Health and Human Services Finance Committee, where I worked on obtaining funding for mental health illnesses and homelessness. As a citizen advocate for 29 years, I volunteered my time to work on legislation to help people. I've worked with legislators from both parties to pass legislation. My longstanding relationships with state legislators and ability to work together in a nonpartisan way will be a valuable asset to the county board. I have a strong pro-business voting record. My top priority will be to grow jobs in the economy and make sure people have a place to live. The policies I supported as a state representative improve jobs and our economy. Many policies my opponent has supported kills jobs and harms our economy. It is important to have a strong economy and grow jobs in Dakota County. My voting record contrasts with my opponent. I voted against resorting to tax hikes in the face of a state budget deficit, and my opponent has voted for numerous tax hikes when the state had a substantial budget surplus. In these uncertain times, we need a leader who will work wisely, efficiently, and protect families from wasteful government spending and fraud. I will work to mitigate the impacts of COVID-19 on our economy, jobs, and businesses. I'm concerned about the high unemployment rate due to the virus. The unemployment rate went from 3% to 23%. Together, we can avoid many of the disastrous side effects from the shutdown-related unemployment, which has led to despair, anxiety, and mental illness for so many of our neighbors. I'm committed to providing safety for our citizens. We must support strong public safety in this time of unrest. One of the first priorities of local government is to support law enforcement so they can protect all of us from those who choose violence. Thank you for this opportunity to speak with you today. Maureen, you're muted.
Thank you. I'm going to get a t-shirt. You are muted. Now I'm going to turn it over to Laurie Halverson for opening remarks. Laurie, go ahead.
Thank you, Maureen, and thank you to the Dakota County Regional Chamber for hosting this event. I'm Laurie Halverson. I've lived and worked in Dakota County for over 20 years. My husband and I live in Eagan, and we're the parents of an almost teenager who attends Eagan schools. I've worked to serve our community in many ways over the years. I've chaired the Eagan Parks Commission. I've served on the Eagan Foundation board, raising money for scholarships for students. And I've been a volunteer with our local arts organizations and with the Open Door. I'm currently a member of the Eagan Kickstart Rotary, which meets at 7 a.m., folks. So I am currently completing my 4th term in the Minnesota House of Representatives, where I've led on a wide variety of critical legislation. I authored the state's first regulation of e-cigarettes. I passed the Homeless Youth Act, infusing $11 million into preventing and stopping youth homelessness. I've been a longtime leader on campaign finance reform and safe routes to school efforts. I am currently the sponsor of a bill to provide state bonding resources to rebuild Diffley Road to improve bike and pedestrian safety. I'm running for the Dakota County Board because I love our communities, and I bring experience in areas that are vital to county management, including public health, mental health, housing, senior supports, and disability services. Like you, I was horrified by the accident that took the life of a child biking to school in Eagan, and I've worked and will continue to work to advance safe routes for pedestrians and bikers in Dakota County. Of course, right now, our communities face a challenge like no other with the COVID-19 pandemic. And Dakota County is on the front lines of the crisis, managing public health to prevent the spread of disease and providing vital services to families like housing supports, and helping our employers by providing job training and job retraining for folks in these uncertain times. Along with this unprecedented health challenge, it's time for our communities to stand up for racial equity. For all the things that we're proud of in Minnesota, we have to face that we are the home of some of the worst disparities in education, housing, and economics in the nation. And it's time to have difficult and challenging conversations, to listen, to build unity, and to work for change that will ensure that all of our neighbors can thrive. Thank you.
Thank you, Laurie, and thank you, Diane, for your opening remarks. We will now move into the question and answer portion of the forum. And what I will do is I will be rotating the questions to each of you. We will start first with Diane Anderson. So Diane, what are the most important challenges facing Dakota County, and how do you propose to address them? And keep in mind 1-minute responses. If you want to unmute Diane, that'd be great.
All right, just notice I unmute. Yeah, I think that one of the biggest challenges is going to be the need to mitigate the impacts of the COVID-19 virus on our economy, jobs, and businesses, and the elderly. There's going to need to be possibly some additional funding from the state and federal government. We're not, what was great is we were able to get the CARES Funding Act money from the federal government, and the state has been working on programs to be helping people with small businesses and helping people with rental assistance. There's going to be a lot of impact on the county budget. We're not sure what the effects are going to be to the property taxes. There's going to be increased expenses. how much revenue is going to be lost due to the closure of businesses, the reduction of property tax revenues from the commercial properties and apartments. There's so many unknowns happening with the virus that it's really hard to even be able to figure out what the county budget should be this next time, and how much the tax base is going to change in the future. There's a lot of concerns about people who are unemployed, and there's going to be a lot of effects if people are not going to have jobs. There's going to be problems with homelessness, and people are not going to be able to stay in their housing. So we really need to be concerned about housing issues, and making sure that there's going to be a lot of issues with these commercial properties because so many people are working from home. And so what are we going to be doing about those types of businesses? And there's going to be higher demand for county services. So we're going to have to be looking at what the needs of the people are going to be out there. So there's going to be a lot of challenges to the county and the services that we're going to be needing to provide for people due to the virus and the redoing of how people are working. More people are working from home.
Thank you, Diane. Laurie.
Thank you. And without a doubt, COVID-19 overlays everything that we are looking at and facing. It's making challenges that we have been working on for years, like housing, like mental health, even more vitally important to address. And at the same time, we are working to try to save our small businesses. We're trying to save jobs and support people who are unemployed during this time. It really has laid bare the serious inequities that exist in our communities. And it also makes us understand that we can't let anybody fall too hard or too far. We are vulnerable right now in this economy. We are working very hard as a state and working very hard as a county to mitigate these impacts. One of the top priorities is to stop the spread of COVID-19, to stop the scourge so that we are not losing more Minnesotans and more residents of our communities, and that people are not getting sick. When we do that, we get to open our businesses more fully and get back to a much more vital economy. And that is going to be job one for all of us at every level of government.
Great. Thank you, Laurie. On to the next question. And Laurie, we will start with you. What will you do based on what is taking place with COVID-19, unprecedented times? What will you do to help support Dakota County's economy be vibrant?
Well, some of the most important work that is being done quickly is to stand up supports for small businesses. So both at the state and at the local level, at Dakota County level, grants to businesses have been vitally important. The federal government gave out loans, and that program was not particularly effective for a lot of employers. The grant programs that we've been able to provide, I think, provide much more stability and a quick infusion of funds, but that's not going to be enough. We need to advance important public health policies in order to stop the spread of the virus. And my background in public health is really vitally important. We don't like people to have to think about public health. If we're thinking about public health every day, it means that something has gone terribly wrong, and that's where we are. And so ensuring that we have the resources to stop the spread of the virus, to make sure that we're still talking about supply chain issues and PPE and other issues within getting resources from the healthcare system into our communities so that we can test and so that we can provide the innovation to develop the treatments, the virus, the vaccine in order to stop the spread of COVID-19.
Great, thank you, Laurie. We'll turn it over to Diane. Diane, how will you ensure that our Dakota County region can continue to be vibrant during this pandemic?
Well, one of the most important things is jobs. I went through, my husband was laid off at one time in a massive layoff, and that is one of the worst things to go through, is losing your job. And we need to be really focused on everything we can do to help people in keeping their jobs and keeping them in their homes. If we have a lot of homeless people, we're going to have a lot of problems to deal with as well. So those are, and then also the mental illness. One of the things that's least talked about in the media is the effect that this virus has had on people and their mental. There's a hotline at the Dakota County, and there's a lot of people calling with issues with mental illness. There's anxiety and despair. We need to be helping those people with the mental illness problem so that we don't have a lot of people committing suicide. I had a child commit suicide at the age of 22. So I know a lot about suicide and wanting to do as much as we can to be helping people who are going through these difficult times. And we want to make sure we mitigate as much as possible of people losing their jobs and being homeless. We want to do what we can to be helping businesses and keeping the businesses open. I agree with these programs that we have that are grant fundings for the small businesses and loans for small businesses. And we need to come up with ways that we can keep these businesses open so people have jobs and so that people are not losing their jobs. And we're going to have a really big problem with homelessness and mental health issues and all sorts of other issues that are going to be happening as well.
Great, thank you, Diane. On to the next question, which kind of ties into some of both of your responses. And we're gonna, Diane, you will start first responding. Do you believe the county should make any changes to its allocation of resources to policing or mental health services?
To policing our mental health services?
Or mental health services?
So I kind of dealt with that on the last question. I as a state representative, I was on the Health and Human Services Committee and provided funding for mental health. This has been an issue I've worked on for a long time and have provided funding for it. And I think it's really something important that we need to really pay attention to, because if people have a lot of high anxiety and despair, then they are going to commit suicide. And we really want to do everything that we can do to prevent that. So this is a really important issue to make sure that we are providing. I know there's a hotline that the county has, and there are some services that they are providing for people once they call into that hotline. And I would like to research out more about what the county is doing, because it is something that's really underreported and it's happening to a lot of people. And this can be very serious if people get stuck in anxiety and despair and think that, you know, there's nothing they can do. So it's a really important issue to me, and I would like to make sure that the county is doing as much as we can to be helping people.
Okay. Laurie.
That's a really important question, and thank you for it. The intersection of law enforcement, public safety, and mental health has been a growing concern for many, many years. I've talked to my Eagan police chief, I've talked to Sheriff Leslie, and what I hear consistently from law enforcement is that they are dealing with an ever-growing number of calls regarding mental health. And this is a trend that has been ongoing for a decade or more. And so law enforcement has been asking for additional tools to help support interactions and interventions with mental health. Dakota County has actually done some innovative things, instituting the Vitals app, so that law enforcement has an app that they can work with families, so that if they're responding to a call, that they know that they are responding to a place where a person might be experiencing a mental health crisis or have a disability such as autism, so that they may not respond to typical police commands, so that law enforcement knows what they're walking into. In addition, Dakota County, I helped work on securing funding at the state for the SMART Center, which is a regional training center to help law enforcement with additional training for mental health interventions. The fact is our police officers and sheriff's deputies are very often the first folks on the scene of any emergency. And so we need to make sure that we've got the resources in place so that we are engaging in public safety and making sure that everybody in these situations is safe. Of course, we have to do a lot of prevention on mental health, and that is a healthcare issue, and we can discuss that as well. But I'm over my minute, Maureen, so.
Thank you, Laurie. On to the next question, and Laurie, we will start with you. And this goes into the subject of housing. And just to preface or to start the tee up the question. Our chamber is getting very involved in the discussion around housing and the housing needs in Dakota County, from affordable housing and to workforce housing. So the question is, Dakota County actually has been doing a very good job in bringing different types of housing and affordability to our region. So the question is, what will you do as a commissioner to continue that affordable housing is taking place in Dakota County?
Thanks for that question. It's one of the most important things that the county does, and probably one of the least seen. But our community development agency is a very active partner with the state and with communities here in Dakota County to ensure that people are housed. Where in the past housing issues have been dealt with and homelessness issues have been dealt with things like shelters, we're now looking at a trend of long-term housing. And so we are looking to quickly rehome people in Dakota County and provide services, provide those wraparound services so that people can stay stable in their home. And so it is everything from, mental health services to financial literacy services and those types of things to make sure that people can stay stable in their home. We know that our seniors are becoming more vulnerable to housing instability, and that seniors want to stay in Dakota County. That's one of the things that we should be very proud of. People who grow here, grow their families here, raise their families here, retire here, want to stay here, and ensuring that we've got housing supports for seniors so that they can live their lives here in Dakota County is incredibly important. Dakota County has been an innovator. Eagan has been a leader. So when we look at what works in rehousing, we can look to our own communities and build on what we've done.
Great. Thank you, Laurie. Diane.
Well, I actually have a degree in housing from the University of Minnesota and really care about housing issues. I actually worked in the mortgage business for 12 years. And I've worked a lot with different people that are in the real estate business. And one thing that they've told me is that around 30% of the cost of new homes is for city fees and code issues and regulations. So we need to be doing a better job to be able to streamline the process. There's a process in being able to be a developer for doing affordable housing, and it starts in June and it's really long and goes to October, whereas then you can't start your project because it's wintertime. So we need to re-look at the way some of these programs are delivered, that we should be putting that the time that developers do it sooner so that they get approved and then can start right away on the project. We can be doing things like doing low interest rate loans for developers and possibly waive some of the city fees. We could do more with giving developers tax credits, and we need to possibly look at how many rent subsidies that we're currently doing and see if there might be possibilities of doing more rental subsidies for people in Dakota County. Like Laurie said, the people that are seniors, once they're living in their home, and there really needs to be more transitional housing for them to go to instead of going to expensive assisted living. We need some better housing options, more senior places that are low cost, that seniors that are healthy can move out of their homes, so that will relinquish some of this lower housing, so that there'll be more lower price housing for first-time homeowners. A lot of the seniors are staying in their homes longer, and so there's less housing available and less workforce housing available. And we need to make sure we're not overdeveloping these lower cost homes, so that that's pricing people out of our area and so that they can't afford houses in our area. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. And thank you for putting up with me and my cute little sign, but I want to keep the conversation going, and I appreciate your indulgence. So the county's budget overall combined for 2020 is approximately $453 million. So that is a significant amount of money that the county is responsible for to ensure smart spending for our residents and businesses in Dakota County. So with that being said, with $453 million, and that's for capital improvements, investments, debt, and everything operating, where would you look at for any type of cost savings within the budget so we can really get stretch that dollar and get more potential services? And Diane, I'm going to start with you.
Well, I guess I get to be the one to tell you the good news that yesterday the county board voted to have a 0% increase to our levy for our budget in this next budget cycle. Most counties are doing that. And so thinking of, we need to be looking to see if there are excessive things that we are spending money on. One thing in the budget that has really been reduced because of the virus is the money that's spent on training and travel. And it's already currently being reduced. And I think we need to continue to cut back on that particular issue, since we need to be focusing more on helping people with their jobs and keeping jobs open and helping people with housing needs. So one of the things that the county does is there's basically 200 county health and human services programs. And so a lot of that, the state sets the policies and then the county enacts the programs. So we could be looking at those programs and just making sure that they're being effective and that people.
Oh, Diane, you hit your mute button. There you go.
Sorry, anything that we're doing that could be streamlined. We really want to make sure we're still spending money on our parks and our roads and our infrastructure. So some of our key county services, we need to make sure we're continuing to provide. But the majority, and then even the libraries, but the majority of what the county does with health and human services, we probably should be looking at those programs and seeing to make sure that they're effective.
Great. Laurie.
Well, one thing that's for certain is that Dakota County is a fast-growing county. We are on track to become the second largest county in this state. The state and the way the state allocates funding to the counties has been patently unfair, frankly, to Dakota County. We are a donor county to the state. We through our taxes, the state gets a lot of revenue from Dakota County, and our services that we get back from the state haven't really matched. And so being in unity with our state legislators to make sure that Dakota County is considered in budget decisions, in bonding decisions at the state is vitally important. Several years ago, there was a bill that was passed that was called the Corridors of Commerce, and Dakota County did not receive the funding that we should have received as a vital economic engine of the state. And so making sure that we are getting our fair share from the state is really important. And so that is something that I've worked for as a legislator and will continue to work for as a county commissioner. In addition, value is important. Dakota County carries no debt. We are, I think, the only county in the state that probably carries no debt at this stage of the game. So we are in a strong financial position going forward in one of the worst economic crises that we have seen. And so ensuring that we are getting value and for the services that we provide is the most important thing that we can do in smart budget management.
Great, thank you, Laurie. So the next question, and it's going to be kind of twofold. Do you believe, and Diane, I believe it's your turn to start with all this back and forth.
Well, I just started that time. So Laurie,
okay, Laurie, you're going to go. So do you believe that there are any services that are not currently being provided by the county that should be? And if so, what might those services be?
Well, I think that our county services are smart and efficient. I think that what we need to do is continue to modernize to meet current needs. I think that one of the great examples is mental health. So we need to ensure that there are wraparound services that go along with ensuring that people have access to mental health services and that we respond in a way that gets people into the healthcare system. Too often, we are treating mental health like an emergency, right? And a crisis. We should be working on prevention of mental health crises. And we have yet, as a county or as a state, been able to provide the kind of resources in order to create the prevention of mental health crises. I talked to a mental health professional who said to me, I feel like a doctor who only gets to treat stage 4 cancer. And so ensuring that we meet people where they're at, and so that they can get the care that they need as quickly as possible to prevent mental health crises. So that is a great example of a place where we can continue to modernize our services.
Okay, great.
And save money, frankly. Prevention saves money.
Diane.
So actually, Dakota County does a really good job at providing services. And this was a question we had been asked before and talked to many people. And a lot of people think that the county does a really great job at providing services. I think one of the issues right now is because of the virus, there are certain services that are not being provided in a timely manner, and people are taking a long time to get into to getting services. And so we need to look now at how we're going to provide these services. Because of the virus, there's less personal contact. And so we're going to have to be finding ways that we can provide these services in a timely manner and not be taking so long to being able to meet with people and talk to people about their services. It is really delaying people getting assistance and help. I was door knocking with one people, and it's just a huge delay. And so we need to be making sure that we are still providing the services that we have been provided in the past, even though that we do have the virus, and make sure that we are helping people with the things that they need.
Great. Thank you, Diane. All right, Diane, you're going to be up on this next question, and it is a little long, so just bear with me. So the Dakota Broadband Board, the DBB, is a joint powers agreement between the county and 10 cities. The county board is currently considering turning over control of their fiber assets to the DBB, which could be used for any lawful purpose by this joint powers agreement. With the county owning over 60% of the total fiber inventory and the county only having 1 of 11 votes on the DBB, would you be comfortable turning over this control? And Diane, we start with you.
Well, I'm very strong on citizen advocacy and local control, and making sure that we are listening to the needs and helping citizens. And if we want to make sure that we have the most power to being able to do what's best for citizens, and not giving that over to some other entity that would be voting against things that would be harmful to citizens. So the more that we can keep control of that, I think the better, because if you only have 1 of 11 votes, I need to probably know a little bit more about who all is the people that are on there, but you want to make sure that you have people that are representing the citizens and listening to the concerns of the citizens, and not some kind of board that's just going to overrun and not be responsive and understanding what the issues are, and being able to make sure you're representing the needs of people, and making sure that decisions are being done wisely and things that are being done to be helping people.
Thank you, Diane. Laurie.
Well, broadband is one of the most important issues that is facing our communities. There are huge disparities even in our own county about where we have access to broadband. And during this crisis, we've seen more than ever how it's vitally important for everything from our kids getting education to people being able to work safely from their homes. And so ensuring that we have a strong and vital network of broadband in our county, border to border, is a priority. The county management, like they did with CTIB, really needs to look at where we are getting the value and able to provide the value for our citizens. And so I look to the decision that the county board made with getting out of CTIB, which was the County Transit Improvement Board, where we were providing all of the resources and not getting a return for our investment as a county. And so we took that in-house and managed it as a county, took that power back to manage for Dakota County and not for the region, not to be a donor to the region. And so I would look at this decision making in a similar way. How are we ensuring that we are getting the value that Dakota County residents are looking for with regard to broadband? And so ensuring that Dakota County is able to maintain and be a voice for the citizens. And you're outnumbered 10-1 right now. So that's a very important thing to consider. How can our board make sure that we have a voice to be effective for our citizens? So that's what I would look at.
Okay, great. Thank you, Laurie. On to transportation, one of my passions, if you will, for our chamber. So both of you, I believe, are aware that the Dakota County Regional Chamber did and conducted a study to improve transit opportunities within Dakota County. And we just released our findings and recommendations to improve and enhance transit throughout the county. So with that being said, what do you think is the biggest challenge for Dakota County and the transit challenge for the county? And Laurie, you are up on this.
In 1 minute, we have...
I might give you guys a little more wiggle room on this.
We have huge challenges when it comes to transportation in Dakota County. We have certainly been under-resourced compared to other metropolitan counties when it comes to state funds and bonding dollars. So it has fallen to our county and localities in order to improve our transportation system. But the voice of the citizen is what's really important here. And I think that, and I really appreciate Dakota County Chamber's study. This was so important because things I was hearing from citizens about transportation and transit weren't being reflected necessarily in the policies that we were advancing. And talking to business owners who were struggling to get talent to their front doors because we did not have the kind of robust transit that young workers are looking for. Talking to seniors who want to stay in our community but can't get to a grocery store safely, either because they can't walk there safely or because there is not transit available. And talking to families who are looking at a school across the street that their kids can't walk to because our roads are not safe to navigate for our kids on bikes or on their feet. So listening to what the community wants to build, I think really was reflected in that study that you put forward. And our communities are looking for multimodal transportation and building a multimodal system and looking at ways that people are using bikes and feet for transportation, looking at ways that people are using buses and rapid transit for transportation, looking for ways that we can reverse commute people. Eagan is a city, for example, that grows in population during the day, or did prior to COVID-19, because of the number of employees that came into our community. And so the myth of the bedroom community in the suburbs is not part of what we're looking at. We need to get people, we need to get talent into our communities, and transit is a vitally important piece of that puzzle. And so, like I said, with the county removing themselves from CTIB and taking over transit planning and transit funding, we are, I think, in a very good position to plan for the future. But we are reimagining transportation in ways we hadn't thought of before.
Thank you, Laurie. And I am giving a little more time for the responses, just because this has been a top priority for the Dakota County Regional Chamber of Commerce. So Diane.
Yes, I really appreciate the report that you put together and all the data that you collected. And I listened in on your presentation. I've read the report, and I agree with most of all of the recommendations that your report is recommending. There's so much to say. There's so much that Laurie said that I agree with. There was, before COVID, the transit riders were down 10% because when there's low gas prices, less people are riding transit. But now the commuter routes down to Minneapolis is down 95%. There's like 200,000 people that used to work downtown Minneapolis. So we're really going to have to look at what are the effects of people that are teleworking going to have on our transit system. Local routes are only down 50%, and those tend to be something that we need to be supporting more and more. We need to be looking at how this transportation is going to be needed in the future because of telemarketing, how that's going to affect it. And there's going to be a tight budget next year. And so there's going to be few new projects. So we're going to have to really prioritize which ones of these issues that you really care about. And I would like to hear from people to find out what the members of your chamber feel about these different recommendations and which ones are your top priorities, because there's so many good ideas that they had in this report, and just needing to improve funding for van pool services, improve the all-day bus service, and doing that pilot project for the demand service. We need to be looking at how can we effectively help people that need to get to work in Dakota County. It sounds like there's a lack of east-west routes, and even needing to do some more hubs. We need to be looking at some of these times that there's less traditional hours. There's limited reverse commuter services. So there's actually a lot of really good things that really need to be done to be helping people get to jobs and helping employers so that they have the employees that they need. We need to be creating better connections between the suburb and the cities. We need to improve the lifeline services. We just need to be doing a few more in-depth studies as to how we can be providing these different things. There's a lot of demand in different areas that there just is not service, and the whole issue with Hastings. So there's a lot of great ideas in this report, and I would really like to see, the other thing too that Dakota County is doing is they are looking at their BRT transit routes right now. They did an update on the orange and the red lines, and they're really looking to do another one, an F line, and they're going to be trying to engage people to get your community input for 11 different corridor plans. So we really need to have the community step up and let us know which one of those corridors would be the next one that we should really be stressing to be working on. And I think Dakota County will be at least doing one here in the future. So.
Great, thank you. Diane, you are up on this. Would you support a stable countywide funding source with which to meet the county's transit needs? And would you be willing to advocate for federal and state funding? Now, keep in mind, the state and the federal funding is one piece. Dakota County, the CTIB, transit sales tax dollars that come into and that residents and people in Dakota County contribute to run between 17 and 20 million dollars annually. So for a stable countywide funding source to improve transit, from participants from those three, would you be willing to support that and advocate for that with the Dakota County Regional Chamber of Commerce? Diane.
Well, I am for less taxes and trying to keep taxes low. The way our economy is right now, it's really not a good time to be raising taxes. We're needing government to be providing money for businesses and people. So it's a hard time to be raising taxes on people and businesses, both, people that don't have a job and they're not going to have a lot of extra money to be raising taxes. So if the economy was better and everything, it's a hard question because this is an important issue. And I think transportation issues have been underfunded. We fund other things, and transportation gets to be one of the least amount of things that are funded. And so definitely would like to get more funding from the state and the federal government for our roads and bridges and these issues. So it's going to be really hard because there's just not going to be a lot of money. And so the top priorities really need to be helping businesses and people, but doing the roads is a top priority. So it's going to be, I guess, how much, if it could be a small increase and not really a large increase.
So Diane, I appreciate your comments, but the main question is to increase and provide better transit systems throughout Dakota County. Investments are going to need to be made and money will need to be spent. And there are funding sources like CTIB, which is a sales tax already in place. So we're not adding a new tax, it's a current tax. Would you and will you be willing to stand and advocate and work with Dakota County Chamber of Commerce to help increase funding to expand transit services in Dakota County? And it's kind of a yes or no.
Well, I do. Yeah, I guess, yes. I'm trying to not increase taxes on people. But I think that, yes, I would be open to looking at ways that, yes, we could be increasing it to be helping to meet our needs for transportation.
Great. Thank you so much, Diane. Laurie.
So short answer is, of course, yes. The thoughtfulness that the chamber has put into this transportation and transit discussion is really lifts our power as a county, frankly. I have a story I like to tell that we need to be united as a Dakota County delegation. So commissioners need to be able to work very closely with our state and federal delegations because we need to be one voice on this as at the state and the federal level. Dakota County has been underserved by those state and federal resources, and we need to make sure that we have tax fairness. The fact is we're paying into these systems and not getting the investments that we need and deserve in our county as we grow. I went to a few years ago, I was standing on the House floor at the transportation chair's desk, and he looked up at me and he said, "It always makes me nervous to see you Dakota County people in front of my desk." Because we worked hard to be a united voice in advocating for proper funding for Dakota County. And so that is something that I will continue to advocate for. And this is where smart management comes into play. We need these investments, and we have a strong management history to build on. I'll just hats off to my predecessor, Tom Eagan, who's retiring, who was part of that. And we need to continue that trend, investing smartly.
And so the way I interpret your answer is yes, you are willing to help and advocate with Dakota County Regional Chamber to increase funding to expand transit service opportunities in Dakota County?
I have, and I will.
Okay, great. All right, we're starting to wind down on time. So I do want to get to a question as it relates to the relationship with the county board and our state legislature. And both of you had made some comments about that. In particular, and I think, now who's up, Diane or Laurie? I'll pick one, Laurie. How would you strengthen the relationship with the county board and the state legislature and the delegation from Dakota County? And now I'm going to bring you back to a 1 minute.
1 minute. Well, there's been some important advancements made with that. As the Dakota County delegation is invited to meet with our board weekly right now, and we have since the pandemic started. It's a trend that needs to continue because, as I've said, there's a lot of things that happen south of the river that we need to be united on as legislators. And so I have a strong relationship with the current delegation. And very often when you see the board light up in the House, we will be united on Dakota County particular transportation issues and other Dakota County issues. But it's going to take continuing that relationship. And those weekly meetings have been incredibly helpful, and we need to continue those.
Great, thank you. Diane.
Yes, I think it's really important. I've been a citizen advocate at the Capitol, volunteering my time for 29 years, working with both parties. I've worked with both Republicans and Democrats. I have longstanding relationships with many of the people down there that are, so I know a lot of the, from being a state representative, I've built relationships with a lot of the legislators that are down there, so I know them. We work together on issues right now at the state Capitol. In trying to get bills passed. And I think it's really important to be working together in a nonpartisan way, working on issues and coming together and agreeing on things and putting political party politics aside and working together is really important. And I've shown an ability to do this. I've already been doing this. I've been doing this for like 29 years, working with both parties to come up with solutions and come up with legislation so that we can work together and get things passed. And I think that's one of the strengths that I bring as a county commissioner, because I'm already doing that. It's so important to me to be working on issues. I've been volunteering my time to do this. And so I think it's really important for the Dakota County legislators to all work together, and I'm very willing to do that.
Thank you, Diane. Laurie.
Laurie started.
Oh,
I already answered that one.
sorry. Can you tell it's already been a day for me? All right, so a quick question, and I might cut you off at about 30 seconds, but it's important. And I think, Laurie, you might have alluded this in some of your prior comments. What would you do to ensure that Dakota County is going to get its fair share in needed money for capital improvements and investments in Dakota County?
Well, this has been a major priority for me, especially in this legislative session as we're still having this bonding conversation. And I have been a tireless advocate for all of the Dakota County projects. There is a project in Eagan in the bonding bill this year. That's not by accident. I worked very hard on that. But the fact is that we've got projects from down on our border with Goodhue, with Billsby Dam, that needs to be part of this bonding bill. And so I have been a tireless advocate for Dakota County. I am a face for Dakota County at the Capitol, and a face for fairness at the Capitol, because we know that we are an economic engine of the state, and we need to make sure that we can make the investments so that we can continue to grow our economic contribution to the state, and grow jobs and grow business and grow our vitality.
Great, thank you.
It was less than a minute.
Yes. Diane.
So I feel I can be a very strong advocate for Dakota County. There's a lot of people that I know down there, and they're willing to do things to work with me. I had some bills that I did funding for, and just because of my relationships with the people down there, they provided the funding that I asked for. It's really those relationships and knowing the people and working together with people, and having that as one of my strengths that I can bring to Dakota County, that I do have those relationships with legislators. And so I will be able to help in making sure that we get funding in Dakota County. Laurie did bring this up. It's very unfair that Dakota County is a net payer. We get less money in Dakota County than we pay in state funding. And we need to be having it more fair, that Dakota County is not always the net payer, that we should be able to receive services as well for the things that we need in Dakota County for our citizens.
Great, thank you, Diane. Well, that concludes the question and answer portion of the forum. And I know it has been a very robust, lively conversation. So I really appreciate both of you and your responses. We are now going to move into closing remarks. And Laurie, you have 2 minutes, and we'll start with you, Laurie.
Well, thanks again, Dakota County Regional Chamber, for hosting this forum. It's vitally important that we talk about issues that are local. Local government has a huge impact on people's lives, and I've always advocated for government at the lowest possible level, because that's where people can have an impact, and people see how government impacts their lives. So I have a very big passion for local government. I'm running for this office because I have skills and knowledge that is going to advance the priorities that we care about here in Dakota County. And it's important to know that my relationship with the public has been an open door policy. Good ideas don't have a political party. So it's important to build relationships, have partnerships, and be a listener. And be reactive to our citizens. And so bringing county government to our community and our citizens is going to be really important. It's kind of been a hidden level of government for a lot of people. And I think COVID has uncovered, as it has with so many things, the work that the county does and the power that the county has to really make a difference in people's lives. I have been an advocate in so many ways for our communities, including carrying important legislation for our local businesses, carrying legislation to extend reinsurance, carrying legislation to eliminate business-to-business taxes, and being a collaborator on issues from education to transit. That is what we need to be as a county board, is to be a conduit for great ideas, to be an advocate for our county and our residents at the state and the federal level, and to be innovators, because what we have in our county is a great base to build on, and we can innovate in ways that other counties can't, because they do not have the financial stability that we do. And so I ask for your support on November 3rd, and you can learn more at lauriehalverson.org. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Laurie. Diane.
I have a demonstrated track record as a strong, proactive leader and advocate who cares about people. I will represent your interests on the county board. My common sense values are needed to help our economy by restoring jobs and protecting and growing our businesses. I will support policies to help our businesses thrive and not drive them out of our state. There are differences between me and my opponent. You have a choice to make this election. As a state legislator, I worked without tax hikes when the state faced a large budget deficit. In contrast, my opponent was willing to vote for billions in tax hikes even when the state had a substantial budget surplus. She voted for $9 billion in increases in just the last state budget. Not only that, she also voted to increase your taxes to pay for the recent destruction in Minneapolis. I'm the candidate who is committed to holding down your property taxes and will protect you from wasteful government spending and fraud. I will prioritize our resources to help keep our local businesses open and residents employed, as well as provide public safety to protect our citizens and their property from the senseless violence and destruction we have recently seen, even here in Dakota County. Some other priorities I really want to work on are to promote and preserve our parks and environment, preserve the natural beauty in Lebanon Hills, improve our roads and bridges, work on the transit issues to help get people to work in Dakota County, and help people with mental illness and help people who are homeless. Homelessness and affordable housing are concerns I share with many of you, and it's time to act, not just to talk about this crisis. I have a BS degree in housing from the University of Minnesota, and as a state representative, I passed legislation to provide money for people who are homeless. I bring experience and work tenaciously to work into improving our housing needs. To get more information about me, you can go to my website at dianeforcc.org. I'm Diane Anderson, and I would appreciate your support, and I would appreciate you voting for me in the general election on November 3rd.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Diane and Laurie. That concludes our candidates forum for County Commissioner District 3. In behalf of the Dakota County Regional Chamber of Commerce, we'd like to sincerely thank you for running for public office. It's not one of the more, it's one of more of those thankless jobs. So to commit your time, energy, and efforts to making Dakota County a better place to live, work, and play, we are grateful for. I know you ladies have kind of a busy day because I think you're back on TV tonight through Town Square TV for their candidates forum, correct?
Yes,
6:30 p.m.
Yes.
Tune in.
So,
6:30.
yep. You know, so we start the morning with coffee and we can end the night with a cocktail and enjoy that more conversation. So I wish you the best for tonight's candidate forum. For our viewers, we are streaming live on Facebook right now. And for everybody else, please feel free to check out Town Square TV if you want to learn more and hear more from our candidates. A special thank you to Velocity Public Affairs for their ongoing continued support and to help us put on these candidate forums. So on behalf of Dakota County Regional Chamber of Commerce, thank you so much for spending time with us this morning. And again, thank you to our candidates, and be healthy and be safe. Thank you, everyone. Have an awesome day.
Thank you.